from previous press junkets, I know you're a diehard Superman fan. And I think I had a photo interview with Jeremy. He said you're, like everyone who's seen the film, Richard Donner love. It's all over. I think he said you're a huge Richard Donner fan. So I'm curious how your approach to incorporating the Donner stuff and just let's say channeling your Superman love.
It really wasn't. It wasn't that much of a challenge, in all honesty, because that movie is always playing on almost in a loop in my head all the time. So I feel like anytime I get on a Superman project, I feel like I'm almost always trying to infuse that kind of energy from that movie into whatever I'm working on. And this was great because Jeremy's also an excellent fan of that movie as well. So he's got that kind of enthusiasm. He was putting in little Easter eggs in the script, and the minute I read it, I was like, oh yeah, I know what you're doing. So it just felt like kind of like almost like coming home in a way, because it was like, so many people. Rick's a fan of the movie, Jeremy's a fan of the movie, and it's just like it felt like I belonged there, getting a chance to direct that stuff. So I guess for me it was just more like making sure that that my love didn't become too obnoxious. I didn't want people to start to think I was gushing.
Has that love carried over to Jonathan?
I'm sorry?
Has that love carried over to Jonathan?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was an interesting thing was Jonathan, I was kind of curious because I had not read the comics before Rick had. And so it was kind of curious to wonder what a Superman's son would be like. Mm-hmm. And seeing it was just a natural, the way Jeremy wrote it, it just feels like the natural next generation of Superman. He carries just enough of Superman's personality, but also has enough youthful anxiety and uncertainty that you can relate to him as a kid himself, which was just endearing, I thought. So I immediately found myself identifying with him. It just felt like he really was like a character that I kind of just loved.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Was there any part of their relationship that you wanted to highlight in the film?
Well, one thing that I always liked is the fact that Jonathan is kind of going through, just typical childhood, emotion and development. So you got him coming in, and he's like a kid, and he's, just maneuvering through life, and then all of a sudden he gets superpowers. So that's like a completely new thing for him, and we get to watch a normal kid suddenly develop into superhero theatrics and superhero life. Whereas Damian was actually a kid who kind of started off in that kind of superhero domain. He was raised by Roger and he's got Batman. He already knows his dad is Batman. But his life is not normal. And so he's kind of trajectorying into what would be a normal childhood as Jonathan is going into superhero lifestyle. So you got that kind of crossover that takes place, which made for super great dynamic, and it's really kind of fun to see each of them kind of develop in different ways.
I think there are multiple layers of standing in shadows in the film, as far as the children and their parents, animated features and live action features. How did you approach that as a director to not overcompensate?
It was kind of felt honestly like I was doing the same thing because, as I said, I'm a huge fan of Superman the movie, and when you grow up loving these movies, you get a chance to work on them. There's a little bit of an intimidation. You are getting your hands on a project that means so much to you as a fan, and you want to actually translate that with the same kind of love and energy that you have going in. So in an odd way, it's like I actually feel like somewhat that that we have a responsibility. We're kind of custodians of the characters, so we want to make sure that we're treating the character properly and making that spirit feel correct. So, and we're in the shadow of all the previous things that were done before, whether it be the original BTAS show or whether it be Superman the movie. It's like there's so much material out there that people are going to emotionally connect with, and we feel a responsibility to make sure that we're creating that spirit properly for everyone watching at home. So I feel a little bit like Jonathan.
Well, speaking to that, then, how do you balance past visual elements with what you want to bring to the project on as your own?
Well, it's funny actually. In some ways, we have some things in mind that we want to pay homage to. So if there's something from the Donner film, we focus on it. But I hope this doesn't sound boring, but sometimes work just gets technical, and so you end up following the technical shots that need to be done to make the story come across. And it's a bit like when you're directing, when you're storyboarding, I'm assuming Jerry would say when you're writing a script, when you're being creative, it's almost like you're having a conversation. And so you kind of don't really know what's going to happen next. Sometimes you end up surprising yourself. And then you're able to reflect a little bit about what you just said. And then what's better about making a movie is that you can go back and revise. So if I said something in a conversation with somebody and I was like, I could say that better, I actually get that opportunity to do that. So it was a little bit of both. It was playing homage to the stuff we've seen before, but then also just allowing the film to expand on its own.
Sure, I was gonna say that tone really reminded me of a classic '80s PG film like The Goonies, Spielberg.
Yeah.
It's obviously you've worked in the past like the DC Lego films, which are obviously a little bit younger audience, but this one definitely has the right tone. Kids can watch it, but there's a little bit stuff for older kids. Definitely got some John Carpenter The Thing vibes with Starro. So I'm curious how your approach to the tone and I guess the audience.
It really depends on the project we're working on, because in all honesty, it's like you mentioned the Lego movies. It's like I approach the Lego movies with the same intensity and desire that I do with these movies. And it's like all I'm really thinking about is staying true to the genre and the material that I'm working on. So you're right, with this movie we're able to expand a little bit, get a little more horror element in, and that just is an opportunity to milk on something. So it was, I'm glad you said John Carpenter's Thing, because that was definitely a vibe we were kind of going for. So it shows that we got the point across. We wanted to kind of carry that spirit. And, like I said before, we just look for opportunities to tell the story in the best possible way, and that was one of them.
I understand this film has the distinction of being the first completely CGI DCAU. How did you approach that?
That was actually a challenge, because we really had to make sure that the designs looked really on point. It was something that we knew that there's all sorts of visual things that you don't see in terms of animation and layout and stuff, and you'll never see it because that's just the development to the final animation. But the final animation is really going to be focused on those character designs and making sure that they really have the right kind of shadows, the right kind of look when they turn and move. And Rick was overseeing the design department doing an outstanding job, so he deserves full praise for that. It's incredible.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yep. See you guys.